Welcome to another episode of the Quiet Work Podcast. As always, I'm very much looking forward to that conversation. We're bringing in Southern Domestic Diva to share her story, why she got into the business, how she got into the business, and how she's leveraging her digital presence to empower other women and entrepreneurs to do the same. Without any further ado, Allie, why don't you introduce yourself and all the ventures that you're part of to the audience, and we'll start with that.
I love it. Thank you, Matt. And hello to our audience. It is Friday before Thanksgiving holiday. And so, like I told Matt, being a business owner, there's a lot of loose ends to tie up. So, very thankful for this time away. But my name is Allie Williamson. I'm also known as the Southern Diva. And I have a full service cleaning company out of Nashville, Tennessee, which is where we're headquartered. And I also have a branch in Southwest Mississippi. I'm so fortunate to have a team of 85, what we call divas and divos, and working for us. And we do anything from residential cleaning, commercial, all the way over to construction cleaning. So we have been on some pretty big job sites as well. I have been in the Nashville area for about 11 years, and I really pride myself on the branding that we have done through the company and our social media presence. So I've been fortunate enough to get on some stages and do some keynote speaking over the past few months, which is pretty cool as well. Just sharing basically how I have branded and grown my company from grassroots up to a $4 million company. So, there's a lot of talk about SEO and Google ads and all of this, but I did it the old school way. And so, did it with a lot of good branding, a lot of social media, and just boots on the ground, stilettos on the ground. So I love to share with business owners how there can be an alternative way of taking the
Absolutely.
route with it, which is some hard work.
Absolutely. And I love to dive into that. But first, how did you end up starting the company? What motivated you to pursue that path?
Yeah, so my story's a little different. I had a grandmother, Hattie, and she was really crazy, a grandmother back in the 80s. So if anybody remembers living in the 80s, she was a big cigarette smoker. So she smoked
Mm.
inside, and her definition of cleaning was wiping the nicotine off the walls. And so I started cleaning at the age of 9, and was so fortunate to walk away from my full-time sales job in
Mm.
2014. I've had the business 11 years. And grandmother Hattie, it didn't just stop there with her, but she was always baking Southern pecan pies. And that has become the trademark of our company. And so if you sign up for a clean with us, you get a pecan pie. I market with them. So I'm not really known as Allie anymore. I'm just the diva with the pies. They expect me to have them at all times, mini pies, large pies. So it all starts with like traditions. I'm a Southern girl. So it started from the roots of cleaning.
Incredible. I love that story. I think storytelling, I was just having a call about that, and in with someone in a completely different industry in the finance world, but he was mentioning storytelling, I think 4 or 5 times during the short
Uh-huh.
conversation we had. And storytelling is such an incredible way. And I mean, the moment I looked up your profile, it stands out immediately. I mean, you belong to that 0.00001% of people that figured it out and are doing the hard work, but the hard work that pays off long term. So that's something incredible, and I admire, look up to that branding for sure.
Thank you. Thank you for
You
saying
said
that.
you have now
When
a
you're in
team
the
of
midst of branding and doing that, you really don't know what you're building until, I always tell entrepreneurs, hold on because the ride gets better. Because here I am, year 11, looking back, and I
mm,
was relentless with the branding. I always had a business card. I refused for you to call me Allie. I was the Southern Diva. I had Cairo syrup in the bottom of designer bags, passing the pies. And now I look back and I'm like, I'm so thankful that I had the vision and I had the passion to keep going. So if there's any entrepreneurs out there, keep going and keep doing what you believe in because one day it all will come to fruition and it makes sense. And then you've developed yourself a brand.
what I'll be curious to hear what sparked that vision in you. Was there a specific moment that you, when you look back 11 years, what happened that you did it? Because I mentioned 0.0001 for a reason, because no one
Right.
really does that. It's really difficult. I mean, difficult. It's No, it's not a first thought like, all right, I need to figure out the branding for my business. They usually jump straight into the business, and people forget about that or don't even, they're discouraged, I guess, because it takes some creativity. So what was the spark in you that, or spark that idea, that vision for you?
Yeah, I think being a Southern Mississippi girl for once with the Southern swing on it, and then the red lipstick, the red brand color stands out. I would typically have on red, but I've been filming for one of my Instagram regular reels I have going up called Making It Monday, where I cook. And so my divas are in red. I have red lipstick on. If I were to pull up at a, job site, I'd be in a red Mercedes, red nails, red lips. It's just like you cannot escape us. And it literally started from a Southern mama that wouldn't let me leave the house without the red and always just standing out. I always had this vision of having all these women and being out cleaning. And, when you're crazy enough to live in Nashville and you have musicians as friends, and they encourage you to do things, then you set out on your own and you figure out a way. And so while I was working a full-time sales job, 9 to 5, from 5 to 9 p.m., I was doing anything from cooking for people, running errands, cleaning houses, or even
Wow.
scooping dog poop in the backyard to make it to where I could walk away. It's like this drive and inside of you, but I'm very aware that I'm the visionary of the company. And so I do have a really strong operational team that can take that vision and put it into play. Because I think that's a very big thing, is recognizing that vision if you are that visionary of the company, and recognizing that, hey, your assets might not be as greatly appreciated in the operations, but your vision is so important. So it really just started at a young age. And a lot of people, I just got to speak in Vegas at a national cleaning conference on branding and social media. And a lot of people came up afterwards like, your story is so good. Your story is so good. You and your grandmother. I'm like, honey, it's a story for a reason. Like, my grandmother Hattie cussed every other word. She never put down a cigarette. She wasn't that pleasant. We can't find a lot of pictures of her even smiling. And I'm like, that's what makes it intriguing, because it's a story. I'm like, so you got to figure out whatever your niche is and your brand is and your story, and you have to live it out, and live it out so authentically that people sometimes will think you're ridiculous. And I've been told that, and but you just keep going. And when you believe in something, it makes it all happen. And what I have, a beautiful thing, is I have these 85 women and men that work for me. So I get to see the rewards through them and their lifestyle, and being able to take care of their families, and them setting themselves up for a holiday, and everybody having time off. Like, that's the beautiful part that keeps us going. When there's always going to be somebody that says it's ridiculous or has something to say, at least they're saying something, is what I say.
Absolutely. I was recently reading that book, Made to Stick, about storytelling, partially storytelling, and I
Uh-huh.
think you're the best example for that book. For what's covered in the book, there's this acronym success, and if you haven't read it, just look up the
No,
acronym. I think it gives you the idea of what the book is about. But after just 8 minutes of our conversation, I can probably meet some people and tell your story through them because it's so easy. It immediately sticks.
it sticks.
It's so easy to say it to other people and share it with them. That's fantastic. Would you say that that branding also helped you find the right divas and divos? I guess it was the term divos.
Yeah, divos, yeah, and I never thought that I would be able to get superintendents on construction sites to call me and be like, "Allie, I need 30 divas here." If you consistently say it, when people will call in and say, "What time are my cleaners gonna be there?" "We don't know, we don't have cleaners, we got divas and divos." It literally sticks. And then it's a thing with our residential, they're like, "We love our divas."
If you think that the entire branding has helped you also attract the right talent, the right divas and divos to join your team. You've mentioned 85 incredible people, and I can
Yes,
imagine someone who looks you up and is looking for, maybe you're looking for a role, they will immediately know what kind of vibe they can expect and what kind of
yeah,
environment they can expect. So I'm just curious to hear if that has somewhat helped you also find the right people to join the team.
absolutely. Oh, it definitely does. I mean, who doesn't wanna be a diva? And I've somehow have convinced the divos that it's a cool thing? And so, I just think with any type of job advertisement, like making sure that they understand that this is like very much a family started business, and started from grassroots, and it's women owned, and it's not gonna be your corporate gig. But what I have to credit all of my luck with my real I've had a lot of luck with my staff and having a big team and being available, and that's being a faith-based leader. A lot of my staff are of the Hispanic community, and I've put a lot of time into the Hispanic community here in Nashville, doing a lot of nonprofit work and meeting them and helping their families and stuff. And so that really is what made the impact. And then just having Southern hospitality, we love to have a fiesta. You know, we're known to have tamales and rice pudding at 9 a.m. You know, we just always make sure that they're very celebrated and that they're taken care of and that they feel like part of a family. And so I do commend like my upbringing and my background and just being the type of leader that is a servant leader is, you know, that's where my credit is. But they love being referred as divas and making sure they have their red scrunchies, and now they want reds to go with their red mop buckets. And I'm like, if we get enough clients, if we get 200 vacuums, they can be red. So I think anybody loves to have a title and have a role. And
Yeah.
so they feel very important to be able to take care of some of these beautiful big buildings that are going up in Nashville and these residents' home in Nashville. They feel part of the family.
And I love it. I can't wait to fly out to Nashville and meet you and the crew at some of those events. I can
Yes,
totally.
we'd love to have you. We'll greet you with the Southern pecan pie.
I love it. I can't wait. You know, when you as you were telling the story, thought about this guy on YouTube. Now he's kind of omnipresent, where he goes up to people and interviews them for like 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes, and hey, what do you do for a living to afford a red Mercedes? And
Yeah.
you know, you would tell the story about the divas and everything, the color, the story that you just shared. I think
Yeah.
this would go viral big time. So
Oh, I love
hopefully.
it. I love watching those too. And I could say at that time is that this is the same girl that started the business in the double garage. And a lot of the times, like, because I had multiple company cars, all the company cars would be gone and I'd be stuck at my house without a car, because it's sacrifice at the beginning. It's
We
just,
will we'll tag him on under our video
oh,
and
I
see
love it.
maybe he's gonna see it. Maybe he's gonna see it and run into you in Nashville, some of the parties there in Nashville. Who knows?
Yes, that would
That's
be
how it
very
starts, and I'm pretty sure that will happen anyway, one day or another. And I love one thing you've mentioned a few minutes ago was that offline and online experience, that you stay congruent with your offline experience. You mentioned red lipsticks, red nails, red car, always
yeah.
showing up to the events the same way so people recognize you, and then online you do the same elements of branding. What's in the very beginning, at what point did you start creating content online and focusing on it, and thought like, hey, this might actually help me grow the business, be recognizable on top of the
Mhm.
offline experience that the offline branding that I do as well?
Okay. Yes, I have always just had this desire to, have a large presence on social media. And my presence has been a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of stories and a lot of storytelling of, hey, this is me starting in my double garage and sharing that story along the way. I would just set internal goals for myself of I want to have 6,000 followers by this date. I want to have
Mm.
10,000 by this date and just staying really, really consistent. Now we have an entire brand voice. And so if you were to go to our social media pages, I like to say that I'm a version of a sexy Martha Stewart. And so, there's anything from decorating to cooking to cleaning, but it just is a domestic page that brings a lot of cheer and a lot of happiness. And so we try to be very diverse and I try to be very authentic and real with sharing my story and share, some of the bad things that you go through with business owners as well. This was a very transitional year for us. And I lost some management at my Mississippi location and went through some mental health challenges and stopped drinking. And I feel like by showing that and expressing that whole story online, that you become real. And you're not just a business owner that has accomplished all this and you're showing it off. No, this is a real person that's out here, at 6 o'clock in the morning, working hard to lose the weight that she gained in the beginning of the year. And so I think that just by expressing that and showing my work ethic and showing how we treat our divas and all that, it just has spoken volumes for our company. And we didn't have money at the beginning for high end marketing and SEO companies. And consultants to come in. And so I knew that, hey, this is a free platform and I have it here and I can share my story. And this is what I have to work with. Just like when I told you about the grassroots sales, those pies, I stay up till midnight baking 15 or 20 of them. When I wasn't cleaning, I was marketing with the pies. And so I feel like as a business owner, you have to be a solutionist and say, if I don't have the money for the ads and the space, and I don't even know how to create a Canva back then hey, I'm going to just let everybody know who I am and watch them with this journey. And so, my journey doesn't end just at cleaning. I have a whole passion for a brand. So I also have incentive with, brand partnerships, and it becomes a lifestyle too. There's so many partnerships that I have with like full focus planners, the planners I use, the vitamins I take. And by my presence on social media, now I have a discounted lifestyle,
Sure,
and I
yeah.
now have to have this other reality of, as a business owner, let's look at P&Ls, let's plan for Q4, let's look at this stat, let's look at that stat. Now I get to go to social media and it's a whole nother world and it's fun and it's vibrant. And now it's almost expected when you've set the bar for yourself and you've set the platform up. My followers are expecting to see me. They're expecting to hear my trainer and what he has to say in the morning. I'm like, the gram wants to hear it, Justin. They want to hear your motivation. That's going to get somebody out of bed and get them moving. And that's what we're here for, is to motivate each other.
And even if you motivate just one person, that's already a huge win, right? So it
Oh,
always
absolutely.
it
Absolutely.
compounds as well. And I love the keyword that you've mentioned, free. Social media is still free and it will most likely remain free. So you can post for free. Obviously there's paid advertising as well, but if something is free and you're not leveraging it, and now pretty much every time you Google anything, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, they all show up. They have had such a huge authority on any search engine platforms that you are missing out by not leveraging, being on those platforms and being active. Speaking of which, what are the platforms that are your favorites, and what are the platforms in general that you are active on or you're posting, whether it's for business or for your personal brand?
We're posting on, my favorite is Instagram. And so we are posting Instagram, Facebook. We also have a separate Instagram cleaning account, which has a Facebook account, LinkedIn, and TikTok. In the new year, we are wanting to get into YouTube. I
Yeah.
do blogs, we do newsletters, we do press releases. And so, with all this AI and everything out there, any opportunity that I can get to speak or to be on a podcast, I'm always putting myself forward with that. Like in South Mississippi, I'll travel home for Thanksgiving and we have a little bitty budget over there. It's a tiny little remote town. Well, there's an upcoming comedian who lives outside of where our office is. We're going to do a collaboration with her. And so she'll do a whole like comedian skit on my divas coming in with the pie. And, we're real country and Southern down there. So, like, that's just me being creative. Like, hey, I'll give you this free clean. She needed a free clean. Let's just put this out there. Maybe it goes viral. Just like you said, with it's free. It's like maybe that loaded potato recipe that I just whipped up in an hour and have that post ready for my series on Monday, making it Monday. Maybe it goes viral. You never know unless you try. You know what I mean? So you've got to
Absolutely.
put it out there to try. And the brand partnerships I spoke of, because I have all these brand partnerships with, Gruins and all these Instagram basically companies, I took that brand partnership, built myself basically a partnership guide. And then when I went to the National Cleaning Conference, I went around to all the vendors and said, hey, if you're looking for a partner to be your influencer, I have an engagement of 28,000 on Instagram and these are my followers here. Hopes that we maybe get some free products and maybe I get to share with my followers other really cool products that are out there. So I feel like that, people limit themselves to the thinking of social media when it can go way beyond. You might see Southern Domestic Diva in 6 months, and we've got a huge shelf full of free products because
Yeah.
of this brand, because I took time to do the stories, because I took time to share my story, and because I was vulnerable and I didn't just post the good stuff.
100%.
You gotta post the raw stuff. You have to post the challenges, and that's when you really dig in and get people's heartstrings, and we're relatable at that point.
100. A little bit behind the scenes will definitely build that trust in others in your viewership. Riverside, since you mentioned YouTube next year, Riverside makes it extremely easy to repurpose your content. So let's say you
Okay.
record a 30-minute video, just like we do right now. It will give you highlights that from the conversation or from your, it can be you, you can be doing this with your teammates, divas, I'm sorry, with divas or with clients, interviews. And then you can have it for Instagram. I like square for LinkedIn, YouTube, horizontal for YouTube. So it makes it extremely simple. And YouTube obviously is a search engine as well, connected to Google. They're owned by Google. So it will definitely help
Oh,
with even compounded growth that you've accumulated so far. So play with
love
Riverside. I think it's a great platform. And
that.
there is,
That in mind, Matt, because I have something in the making and I might just be working up a podcast idea that would be hosted in
there
my
you go.
kitchen, being called
Love it.
In the Kitchen, which would be where entrepreneurs can share some of the things that make you bitch, and we would cook and prepare a meal, so I'll have to remember that with Riverside. What do you
Yes.
think? You think that's pretty catchy, "Bitchin' in the Kitchen"?
Love it. 100%. I can see already hundreds of thousands of subscribers right away for you. Well,
Thank
I
you,
love
Matt.
that. Love that title. And there is what I wanted to say. There's one thing that I wanted to share regarding that strategy, but I guess it will come to me in a second. Regarding could have been regarding YouTube. Another tip here, but
I was gonna say, like, all of these platforms because, you say, "I'm on Instagram and Facebook," and you're like, "How in the world are we gonna do it?" Notion has saved us, the app Notion, to where that is able to lay out all of these platforms for you and give you a digital calendar. I always suggest is, holding yourself accountable by having weekly meetings, bi-weekly meetings, planning the content in advance, and, taking advantage of Gen X. Man, if they're gonna be on their phone scrolling, they might as well be scrolling for us, right?
absolutely yes.
Oh, I
Keep them in your ecosystem. I always say that when prospects pretend, oh, there we go. Hello,
Yes, this is
another
Blossom. So
another
she's part of the
you.
branding as well. She even wears pearls. So
Love
she
it.
likes to make appearances on podcasts, so I hope it's okay.
Oh yes, you have to have her on the podcast for sure. That immediately sparks the entire atmosphere there. And thank you for stepping in now because I remember what I wanted to say. Since you've
Okay.
mentioned Instagram, imagine that your business owner friends locally would once a week post in their stories, a shout out to other businesses that they're following or they're supporting. I mean, Instagram stories is pretty much guaranteed that someone will pay attention for that millisecond and they
Absolutely.
will see it. So it's so much easier to leverage that local presence. And obviously,
Yes.
Instagram is free, as we mentioned. Just as simple, it doesn't have to be edited, professionally created, paid $100 for a creative, simple, short video, picture, whatever that is, and just tag the right business. I think if more businesses would get into this and start doing simple stuff like this, I mean, it will help grow the community, improve their
Mhm.
appearance, and obviously help with all the branding. So that might motivate them to maybe start when they see results coming from it. You see some DMs coming from potential clients. They might get involved finally and step into the game of digital marketing and being online, building your online
Yes.
presence.
Or you're gonna be first of mind, that's what we
Mhm.
want them to when they think about whatever you're selling, hopefully when they think about cleaning, they're like, "I just saw the diva, she was cooking online and she's making potatoes, but I'm gonna let so and so know with this 400 building that she has a construction cleaning crew." So I think I always say always be tagging, like wherever
Yeah.
you are, like all it takes is a picture of a sign, a picture of what you're eating, and I tell people all the time, I don't have a fancy videographer that follows me around. I just have an iPhone and I treat my iPhone like it's my own reality show. And I don't try to go to the apps. Like, I don't go directly to Instagram to post on the story when I'm posting there. That gets a lot of pressure. Just put it on my camera roll and I might post, later time when I'm not in the middle of a meeting, or I might have that saved that when I sit down for my weekly social media meeting to get on Notion to plan something for LinkedIn. Shoot, I'm really glad that I got all those pictures at that networking event. Now I can apply this to LinkedIn because that content is going to be a different content than your Instagram. So I tell people all the time, do not make it complicated. All you have is a phone, and we use shared albums, just as simple as that, with sharing it with our team to create the reels and to organize it and to put it there. Like setting some goals for yourself. Like I set those goals. I'm going to make 2 story posts a week. I'm going to do this for myself. And what better time to set goals than the new year?
Absolutely, yes. Keep it simple. I think business owners like to work in systems, so create a small, simple, straightforward system for you. Maybe three, four topics that you talk about, and then recycle it. So one would be cooking for you, giving back, brain trust, which we can get into a second, building a business, and then something related to dogs, whatever that is, faith,
Yes.
dogs, some personal stories, if you feel comfortable with, and then
Yeah.
just do this over and over again. And over time, obviously, people start recognizing you and coming back, staying in your ecosystem and referring business to you. And there are so many ways now that you can leverage uh, and just get clients through DMs on Instagram first from a simple Instagram story. You never know where it's going to come from.
Absolutely. And my advice to that is make sure you're posting some real life stuff. So every time you're not on there, you're asking for something, because that's going to make
Yeah.
them not interested in following you, because every time she gets on here, she's trying to sell something. It's like, no, I saw her real life. I saw her dog's birthday party. She's going to her mama's house and they still cook their vegetables. They have like a way in of your life and they feel like they're part of it. So I love any encouragement. Y'all just slide right over to my DMs. I'm Southern Domestic Diva. I will give you encouragement any day, and I will be the one that is sending claps when you're doing your outfit of the day or any engagement. I love to be people's cheerleader on there, because I'm single and building a business, and there's a lot of loneliness that goes with that. And
Mm.
sometimes my friends on Instagram, like, they fill up my Friday night when I don't have plans or I'm too exhausted to go out. I have DMs full of very encouraging people and a positive like light there and platform. So
There you go. That's a great example that social media can be positive too. So according to
don't compare yourself. Don't do that to yourself. Think about how you can apply it to your own brand and get better. The comparing game's not fun. We're all
yeah,
different. We all have something special.
100%. Yes, we're all God's gifts. Now, tell us about brain trust. What is brain trust and what do you do with it, with the platform?
Absolutely. So Brain Trust is a organization that I've been involved with for the past 4 years, and a lot of people would like to think about it as like a mastermind group. So Sherry, who is the founder, is a very successful entrepreneur who has exited her business and has a really good success story of starting from the bottom and climbing her way through. And she basically wanted an organization and a platform where women business owners could come together, share ideas, share things about business, come and be a place to cry, celebrate, do all of this. And so she started Brain Trust, and you are basically put into vaults with other business owners. It's 7 business owners total,
Mm.
and they break those down into revenue. So I was in a key club vault that was over 1 million with other female owned business owners performing, and we met on a weekly basis, and we had a forum that we followed and went by. And that was bringing things to light. And let me tell you, some of those things that I brought to light, she helped me avoid partnerships I should not have
Mm.
been in. She helped me avoid consultants that I did not need to work with. And it's just basically this safe place where you can go and you can share things that are happening, emotionally, personally, that can affect us as business owners, and then real life stuff where people are trying to come in and take equity of your business. And Sherry comes across the table and is like, absolutely not. And so it just was a wonderful stepping stone for me as I was getting into like from 2 million to 4 million in growth. There's a lot of transition and a lot happening. And it happened so quickly that it just gave me that platform and that group of women to depend on. So it was very positive influence on my journey. And, I highly suggest, if people don't have a community, have that community. I just posted on my story a lunch that I had. It's another business owner, cleaning business owner here in town. And instead of looking at him as competition, we looked at his collaboration. And I think that was Sherry's mindset too, is collaboration, coming
Mm.
together. And I love anything that supports women, being a women-owned small business. So I felt like when I would leave those vaults, I would feel powerful. Like, oh yeah, nobody's coming and messing with my business, because I have this group of women that are going to support me, and they're going to answer my text message at 2 a.m. if I need them to, or, if it can wait till the vault. So definitely helpful with my journey.
Have you ever thought about creating your own community?
Uh, I have somewhat, with my following, and that's been brought up. So it's, you kind of internally create your own community of mentors and, people that you're modeling. I always try to put myself in rooms of women who are 5 million, $10 million companies, just so I can see how their rhythm of life is and some things that maybe I can apply to my life. But right now we are just in, a growth phase. So I'm just taking advantage. There's so many wonderful organizations that I have been part of here in Nashville. So I just take advantage of that. Networking queen with their pies.
Love it. Yeah, there's platforms such as School that make it so much simpler right now. They focus on the community aspect. So it seems like
Mhm.
communities and creating a community, very niched community. In
Yes.
your case, I can imagine would be women that are in the business or want to get into business to and women that have exited their business already. So to bring them on and have this community where you give back, share some stories and obviously listen to them and try to provide
Hmm.
help as well. So it seems like a good move because you've mentioned something very important that it's happening, very real. That if you're building a business, sometimes you're lonely, sometimes you have
Oh,
so many things above your head or that you need to get done and there's only 24 hours in a day or 7 days a week and it's challenging to do it all together by yourself. So I'm
yes.
pretty sure that's the main reason why communities are continue to grow
Hmm.
and I think that's very powerful and I'm glad to hear about brain trust and platforms such as Brain Trust. Reminded me on, I think it is most likely taken from that book. Was it Think and Grow Rich that came up with the name Brain Trust, where you have multiple people focusing on one particular topic or theme for that day.
Yes.
That's cool. Now you've mentioned,
That's like always a journey of an entrepreneur. You say, like, okay, I'm building this, but once I build this, how can I help other people? And that was Sherry's
yeah,
mission is I've, just heard that she blessed in that exit that she blessed everyone that worked for her, like tremendously blessed them, which that brings like tears to my eyes. But then she could have just like kicked her feet up and said, okay, I've exited my business, I'm done. But then she invested all this time into building this whole platform to support us and to support more women. And so I think that that's cool in the journey is that we, don't just get to the top or get to the exit and just kick our feet up and enjoy the ride. Then we say, okay, what can I do to give back? And so that was what really stuck out to me with Brain Trust is that she's still out there grinding. And I hope to still have that
yeah.
vision and that grind, after my exit has come and gone.
Absolutely. And I had one lady on a podcast that started a logistic company and now it's a pretty successful company. I think they have 90 plus trucks. So you imagine that. And
Wow.
she has some political aspirations. She wants to give back not only to the communities, but also impact how the overall industry is being shaped and how to impact it in a positive way, coming directly from someone who is in the industry, not from regulators that have no idea what's happening in the
Mhm.
actual industry. She knows from all sides of the industry what's happening. And it's always inspiring to hear stories like this and people that want to invest their own personal time into something like that because it takes time, effort, and emotions as well to step out of your role and obviously you might get into some uncomfortable situation where you have to deal with and you still do it pretty much just because you want to give back and because you're a good person. So I love that. I wish you that the compounding effect to take place as fast as possible
Thank you for that.
and that exponential growth for sure. Now, you
Yes.
mentioned growth and expansion. Speaking of exponential growth, how you approach the next phase of growth at your company? You've mentioned going from one to two, from two to four. What's next? Are you trying to reach different cities or different maybe industries? You had construction, residential, short-term rental,
Yeah.
maybe something else. What's your approach to growth now?
Yeah, well, we're in the city of opportunity right here in Nashville. There is so much growth just in the surrounding area. So right now we are just focused on this location and growing right here, but being a little bit more dialed in with the way that we're growing right now. I always want to be transparent is that I was very focused on revenue numbers and growing my revenue and I got into a lot of construction cleaning and that wasn't the best partnerships for us. The payment structure, as a lot of people know, is sometimes very challenging to keep up with good cash flow. And so, as I mentioned, I've been humbled this year. We had a transitional year. So, we're kind of just getting back to basics and looking for that steady growth in our residential and commercial markets and just focusing on that and getting a little bit more steady cash flow going because the construction jobs we had, it was about a $1.5 million worth of jobs all going on at the same time.
Wow.
And so, it was challenging to keep up with. So we're looking forward to, I know a lot of other business owners are as well, is a new start in 26. 25 was
Okay.
not the easiest year, but, I feel like with being a faith follower, God gives us the valleys and the mountains, and it can't always be uphill. I said to my trainer this morning, I work out with the trainer 3 days a week, and it's more mental training than anything because we're very focused on abundance mindset, that this has been the hardest year yet in business, year 11. So I hope people are hearing this, year 11, but I have grown the most as a person and a leader.
Mm.
So there's been like a incredible amount of sacrifice that I've made on my own lifestyle and my choices just because I had to, because the business was in that. So I'm looking forward to a year of a lot of clarity and being the best leader I can be.
Amen to that. And there's this story in the Bible where you can ask God for you want to you have to be careful what you ask for, because if you ask for strength and being able to deal with anything in your life, God might send you some challenges your way to make sure that you're ready for it. And that's
Absolutely.
where the personal growth comes from, because you ask for it, you have it, you dealt with it, now you're a much stronger person.
Yeah.
And that's extremely powerful. And my coach used to say, or constantly was telling me every call and every meeting we had, to do 1% less. And sometimes doing 1% less might be very helpful. Also, growth, obviously, we all chase the bigger numbers, more revenue, as you said, and that's the typical way
Right.
to grow. But sometimes growth might mean optimizing your profit margins, for example. I mean, that's
Yeah.
incredible growth if you can get that extra 5, 10, 15% at bigger
Right.
numbers. That makes a lot of sense. So focusing on that and avoiding mistakes you've done in the past, this is also growth, right? So all of it is just relative, and I think that's all. As long as we are not in the same place as we were 12 months ago, we're growing, and that's great
There you
to
go.
see.
And another business owner shared with me is, Allie, that gross revenue is not always a reflection on how well your team and you did that year. If you've overcome these challenges and you now have systems in place where these things are not going to repeat itself and you're going to protect yourself, and you're looking at value of, like right now, I'm looking at value of my connections that I have and
Mm,
feeding off of them in a time when my financial is very slim. We're not able to do as much as we were in the past years. So, like I said, the power of collaboration. Hey, what are you doing that works? What works for you? Maybe we can change our system. Just because you've been doing it that way doesn't mean it's the right way. There's so many different ways out there. It's just feeding off of these other business owners because we have most likely tried it, or, you know, versus having to pay the money. It's just depend on these relationships. That's the real currency, or is the relationships you're building.
yeah, that's a very smart approach. I like that zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out analogy,
Mhm.
where in business there's always phases, and in each phase you can zoom out, or maybe first zoom in at the one particular problem that you're trying to deal with. Maybe someone told you about it, maybe you recognize it. Then you can ask your network how they've dealt with this one particular thing, and then you zoom out again, look at the overall business. And there was a moment where, okay, something is off, you can zoom in again and again
Love
focus on
that.
that one particular thing, zoom out. So that's been always helpful. Now, the last few questions are a little bit more philosophical, and I think you're going to give great answers to those questions. First one is, what gives you the most fulfillment in running the business, growing your personal brand,
Yeah.
your business brand as well? What is the most fulfilling for you?
Definitely the joy that I have through my divas and divos and seeing their life improve, if it's the health insurance that we're offering them or them purchasing a new car or just the family that they have. And like I mentioned, I'm really sensitive around the holidays into their families and growing. So I feel like when I'm with them and around them, that's the most joy that I feel. And that's how I know that God blessed me and stewarded me with this gift to be a servant leader. And that's when it's real. And I love to share my story about my grandmother and and pass out my pies. That's another one of my things. So anytime that I'm being able to be out and selling and telling about Grandma Hattie, that's always fun as well.
The OG grandma, yes, she's a real deal.
She got way more credit than we ever thought she would.
There you go. And this reminds me of my wife's grandma, who's constantly smoking, and she's walking everywhere for a cigarette. And she's a badass person for sure,
Oh,
managing still her real estate portfolio, and she knows about every little number, every expense. She knows everything. So yeah,
yeah.
gotta
Like in
give her
our
credit. A little.
tribe, and we should take advantage of that because, like, those traditions and those, traditions that our grandmothers and all instill, they're not gonna live forever unless we
Mm,
try to, live out that tradition, and that is, like, a big part of mine. I actually wrote a cookbook a couple of years ago with all of her recipes in it, and it's teaching you how to use a cast iron skillet and keep it clean. So we
I
had
love
to
it.
do
Yeah, I
the
saw
hints
that.
on the
Yeah.
cleaning part.
Yeah, I saw that.
Um,
I was like, "No, that's an interesting way to promote it." And but now I know that it's where it's coming from, and
yeah.
that's a good one and very useful for sure. Very useful. Now,
And, we talk about a story, like, if I'm sponsoring an event, I pass out Southern pecan pie, and so if the pecan pie doesn't bring up a story about their grandmother, the cast iron skillet's gonna bring up a story, and by the time you take somebody away from what you're selling and they're thinking about their grandmother, you got them. And I think that's why the story is so powerful because the story has to relate back to it, and so,
yeah, and
you know, it
it just happened to me because immediately I started thinking about that. That's
Mhm. I thought
incredible.
about
Yes,
her.
great example right there. If you had an opportunity to sit across the table from the Southern Diva 11 years ago, what advice would you give her?
Oh my goodness. Make better banking relationships, like, literally. Would have probably to do a little bit more research before I dive head first in. I'm
Ooh,
very much of a visionary, and so I could have made an easier path for myself if I wouldn't have chased shiny objects, and I would have done a little bit more research, and I would have, put a little data and analysis and things like that into that. But I try not to harp too much on the negative things because I say we're all blessed with certain gifts. So if I did anything right, I did my branding right. But financially, we've always struggled with cash flow. So having better financial options would have been that, and then not always chasing shiny objects. I've had
yeah,
some friends in cleaning and they have $10 million cleaning company only in residential. And she's had no ride is easy in business ownership, but she's had a lot easier of a vertical rise as I grew this way. So just being very intentional with that growth. If there's any business owner that's starting out, make sure that that roadmap is very clear with the direction you're going.
absolutely. I was part of a large business, relatively large in the United States. Anything below 40 million a year is considered small business. So relatively no large business that was following those shiny objects, and that cost the entire business pretty much went down from millions
Exactly.
and millions and millions in dollars. That's possible. The higher you climb, sometimes the harder to fall. So you have to be careful and be intentional with it all. So great advice there. And my last question, I love to end on a positive note, which is very easy with you because everything
Yeah.
was so helpful, insightful, and positive. What are you looking forward to the most in the near future? It can be business related, doesn't have to be. Obviously, we have holiday season coming up, Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Yeah.
Anything outside of that that you're looking particular, that you're excited about in particular?
Yeah. So always excited for a holiday trip at the end of the year. I typically try to get out of the country for at least that
Oh,
little New Year's stint. So
very nice.
I'm actually talking to a travel agent on my way home to Mississippi on Monday to plan that.
Very
You know,
nice.
Always looking forward to that, but in the new year, our team is very focused on my operational team stepping up to the plate, promoting a COO, and me stepping into the role by Q3 of 2027 of just focusing on sales and trying to get on more stages to speak, trying to work on my personal branding. And just personally, I will be 40. And so I would like to, maybe try to become a mom within the next couple of years. So really setting the company up to where it can operate without Allie. So, I know that's going to come with some challenges as well, and seeing myself more on that outside of just observing and sales and bringing things into the business. But I think there's always a time in business ownership where you have to see yourself, in that role of, hey, can this operate without me? And if not, then I don't really have a business. And so that's what we're really focused on. So that's going to take a lot of prayer and a lot of will, because when you've been in charge for a long time, you have to step back and you have to let your team make the mistakes to learn from this mistakes. And I'm really looking forward to what God has planned for me in the next couple of years, with hopefully becoming a mama and having a little baby Hattie of my own and really living out my grandmother's tradition.
Absolutely looking forward to seeing that. As they say, there's this Latin saying, "Et labora," means pray and work hard. We have to do that, and that's how we learn. That's how we grow. So it
Okay.
was an absolute pleasure to meet the Southern Diva and
Thank you.
learn your learn more from you, and as I was expecting. So I've learned a ton, great insights. Looking forward to seeing your exponential growth and how you document it online on across
Okay.
all platforms. And hopefully, yeah, everything that you just mentioned will happen faster than you expect. I'm wishing you that, and continue to grow. Thank you so much for your time this Friday afternoon. I know it's a busy time before holiday season starts. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. You are a light. Gets very stressful running a business. So when you step aside and you have this time, you're like, "I'm really good," and sometimes we just need to have a little fun as business owners. And this was fun. So what a great way to end the weekend. I can't wait for it to go out, and hopefully we help other business owners, because that's what we're here to do.
No doubt. Thank you so much, Ali.
Thank you.